So what is step two? We have wrapped up step one. We've looked at the allegation. We know what that one flower looks like. The step two is where we start navigating into that field of wildflowers, right? So we want to expand intentionally. A lot of investigations get really stuck on focusing solely on the allegation, but it is really important to intentionally zoom out, because how often in our world, if we can see that a provider is doing one thing wrong, that they are doing one thing wrong, right? Like, there's a solid chance that we're going to be able to find some additional red flags if we intentionally zoom out. So are we seeing, when it comes to the allegation, though, we can expand upon the allegation itself to say, okay, we were able to validate it for this one member data service in Kat's example. Is this happening across other members, across time? Are there similar issues or services that we're able to identify? And how do we do this? We do this using the claims data, utilization patterns, time trends, peer analysis, or sometimes it can also be a deeper dive or a bit of a continuation of step one, where we say, okay, maybe that initial allegation wasn't it. It didn't stand up the test of time, but let's look and get more familiar with the billing guidelines and to really see what we should check the data against. And so this is where we really stop looking at just a single flower and we go ahead and step into that field. We're not drawing conclusions yet at this point, but we are beginning to look for patterns. This next one in the chat, rabbit holes. I will be the first to say I feel a touch hypocritical presenting this slide because I often live in rabbit holes. I've had to dig my way out of way more than I would like to admit. So we will just say this is a do as I say, not as I do slide. But the thing that I try to focus on, or at least tell my team to focus on, is expanded analysis is necessary, right? We need to get to that field of wildflowers. We need to see what's going on. But this is also where people can get lost. The rabbit hole happens when the expansion stops becoming intentional and starts being reactive. So if you're chasing every anomaly, if you're just pulling in more data, more pivot tables, more everything, just without refining a question. So when I teach Excel trainings or when I'm talking to my team, I say before you make any pivot table, you need to ask yourself, what are you trying to answer in this pivot table? Every pivot table should have a question going into it that you are looking to answer in order when you get out of it. So in addition to not to just pulling the data or making all the pivot tables, sometimes we do have access to extensive resources. So particularly when I worked for a plan, I had access to all the prior authorizations, which often had medical records attached to them, right? That's fun. Am I qualified? Do I have the initials after my name to look at those? No. Did I look at them anyway? Absolutely. Call logs, provider correspondence. There's so much information that is just at the tip of our fingers. And as investigators, we're curious. That's what makes us want to do this job, right? We want to solve the puzzle. And so sometimes having that access, while great, can actually make us rabbit hole a bit. I know someone once said, if you've looked at 5 prior authorizations and they're all bad, do you think that looking at 100 more is really necessary? No, especially if I'm going to be requesting records and sending them off to the people that have the correct initials after their name to be able to say whether or not those are actually bad or just don't pass my sniff test. It's duplicating work unnecessarily at that point. So to fix this, again, expand intentionally, not endlessly. Ask the questions. Does this help define the scope? Let the allegation guide that expansion. In Kat's case, she wanted to see, is it happening with one member? There's one daisy confirmed. How many other daisies do we have in this field? And then to say, what other flowers might there be? Again, we've said this before as well, use experience. Maybe I haven't worked a case like this. Maybe I've never worked an ABA case and I don't know what the red flags are. Do you have access to other people's cases that you could poke around and see? Do you have somebody else within your organization that can help kind of give you a list of red flags? Can you Google it or ask Copilot, ChatGPT? What are some FWA indicators that I could be finding in this data? So just really try to make sure that you're your expansion is intentional and you're not just rabbit holing all day.